Be Frankie.
Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy B-Dell. If you're new to this channel, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. In tonight's transmission, we're going to be breaking down the science of the end times and how it's connected to prophetic divination by way of the prophecy of destruction. But it's all about the initiation process of the soul as we get through the Great Awakening period when you're talking about the apex of the Golden Age. Now, all this is esoterically connected to El's Holy Injyil, which is a transliteration of the book of Revelations, and how everything comes full circle by way of the 360 degrees of knowledge. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you already know what time it is. Get those notes out. Hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the building today. So we finna get straight to it. So when you're talking about prophetic divination, it's basically copulated with the science of the end times. Because one thing you got to understand about, the end time prophecies is not only subjected to theological context, you have to understand how everything in the universe has a logistical order. And everything that has a logistical order has boundaries. And everything that has boundaries has law, divine law, by way of cosmic retribution, divine retribution, right? That is what you call the big mother energy that is extracted from the mothership, right? We finna get into it, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm also going to show you the diametrical differences between the cherubim and the seraphim and how it's connected to the sequence and the factions of the Anunnaki, right? Because all this is connected to the mothership, the Anunnaki, end time prophecies. We finna get into the draconian reptilians because as we get through this Great Awakening period, we have to be able to delineate on what's evil and what's really good for us, right? We have to understand two different types of energies on the planet, benevolent energy and malevolent energy. Now, so with that being said, it says right here in this publication that the black hole at our galaxy center just exploded with light, and scientists have no idea why. Now, the galaxy center is actually the galactic center. The galactic center is actually the Milky Way star constellation. So what's happening is we're breaking out of artificial time analysis mechanism, right? That kept us inside of a fixed position reality, because that fixed position reality is connected to the energy of Saturn. This is why you see the number 8, which is an infinity symbol, because the number 8 in itself is acclimated to Saturn, and Saturn is also known as Father Time, which is Chronos, right? So that means that we're breaking out of the Kali Yuga time cycle, time capsule, right? We're breaking out of the matrix system. So this is what we call squaring the circle in the esoterics, right? So when you reach your cipher, your circle, that's when you're able to break through the square. The square is the subatomic particles that is being controlled by the energy extraction matrix. Because anything that you see that's basically a cube shape is basically the embodiment of an energy extraction. It traps energy, just like how this planet traps souls. So this is why you have to find your way right back to the light as we get through the darkest hour. The darkest hour is El's Holy Injyil, which is prophesied by who is El Elyon El, who is Theos, who is also known as Thanos, right? The galactic snap that has the ability to reverse the polarity on the planet by way of the chakra systems that's connected to the infinity gauntlet of Thanos. Because Thanos, he was really the personification of the Most High, right? Because his real nomenclature title is Theos. Theos is another nomenclature title for Anu, right? We finna get straight to it today. We got to get those notes out. Now, they just came out with this publication not too long ago. It says on August 2nd of 2027, the world will go dark for 6 minutes, a sight you won't see again for 100 years. Now, I need you to understand something. You got to understand the signs and symbols, right? Because one thing you got to understand about solar eclipses, they're not really solar eclipses. This is basically the embodiment of the dark matter energy, big mama energy coming to the planet by way of the black sun. The black sun is actually the black chakra, and the black chakra is technically connected to who we are genetically and neurologically, right? So on August 2nd of 2027, this is also the same year that they say in the prophecy of popes that the world is going to end, because they know that's going to be a transitional phase, because we're breaking out the Kali Yuga time cycle, right? We're breaking out the Kali Yuga time cycle. We're no longer stuck inside of the infinity loop, because human consciousness, remember, has the ability to manipulate physical matter. When you manipulate physical matter, that's when you break out of the Metatronic overlay. You break out of the polarity consciousness, because you have the ability to activate the prana, which is the energetic life force that's connected to the biotonic energy of your oversoul, which is the Zohar body, right? The Zohar body is how you connect with the visible light spectrum that's outside of this paradigm, right? That's why I keep talking about the vector codes, ninth dimensional knowledge. So now, when you're talking about Apophis, right? So when you understand the sigil system and the embodiment of a solar eclipse, so solar eclipse is actually Amun Ra in ancient Kemetic spirituality. But Apophis is also connected to it, because Apophis is Apep, and Apep is also known as a serpent bearer. The serpent bearer that's also energetically connected to the energy of Ophiuchus, which is known as the 13th zodiac wheel. Because when you look at the sigil of Ophiuchus, it's showing you a serpent, right? The man holding the serpent, because the serpent is a representation of the Kundalini energy, right? That strikes the pineal gland when you're talking about the prana. The prana is the life force that activates the serpent within your genetic format. So that's why I said a solar eclipse has a very powerful energy, because it has the ability to activate the black sun within you, right? The black sun is the black chakra that's connected to the star Polaris, that is also known as the mothership that's outside of the dome. That's the true sun that's giving energy or fractions of light to the two celestial bodies that's within the simulation. So when you're able to wake up the black sun within you, this is when you break out, just like this picture right here. This is when you break out of the matrix, right? So a solar eclipse is also known as the energy of Amun Ra, because Amun means to be hidden, right? The hidden black chakra within your neurological format and your genetic format that harmonizes with the black sun inside the planet and the star Polaris above, right? So that's why I was saying you have to be energetically balanced. As above, so below, as within, so without. So you have to be a microcosm of the macrocosm in order to withstand these energies that's coming to the planet, as you had the fall of the matrix and the fall of the physical world, the fall of the corporation. Because like I said, the consciousness in itself is connected to the serpent. This is why you're looking at the serpent. The serpent has the ability to create that piezoelectrical frequency of the green Ethereum energy, that Kryptonian energy that's connected to the non-noble gases that activates your non-ether, right? So now, it says that solar eclipse that's going to be on August 2nd of 2027. It says it's going to be for 360 seconds. Now, 360 seconds is actually 6 minutes, right? 6 minutes is actually 360 seconds. So you take 360, and then it equates to 3 plus 6 plus 0 equals 9. Then you got 369, which is the cosmic keys of the universe, which is a interstellar vortex portal of a concentric circle that leads you right back to the golden age, as you go right back to the galactic center, which is the Milky Way star constellation. That's the only way you can have a fifth dimensional civilization, is when you have the fifth dimensional Milky Way star constellation harmonizing with three-dimensional Earth. It's kind of like a form of metaphysical sex. It's a tachyon energy that pulls us up into a different dimensional reality to pull us right back of where we fell from, right? This is when you get into the cherubim of the Bible, when you're talking about the 1/3 of the galaxy that fell in Mount Hermon on the 33rd parallel. That's what that's basically talking about, because we fell in frequency. But the galactic center of the Milky Way star constellation is actually the keys of the universe of the 3, 6, and the 9. That is the portal to get right back to the golden age, which is the star Polaris, which is the mothership over the firmament. That is the true light that is extracting the green etheric energy to operate with the sons of green light, the Sufi order, the ones who understand the science of circumology. We understand all forms of knowledge to get one truth, which is the reality that basically defeats the simulation that was built on indoctrination. So the keys of the universe, the 3, 6, and the 9, right? Because one thing you got to understand that about the numerical codes of the 3, 6, and the 9, because the 3 is a representation of manifestation that's equated to the mind, and the 6 is a representation of harmony that's equated to the body, and the 9 is a representation of completion that's acclimated to the spirit. So that's basically the completion of the simulation by way of the activation of the non-ether energy that basically pierces the veil with cosmic radiation that manipulates the energetic grid system, right? That controls all technological devices. So as we get back to the cosmic gateway of the cosmic center, when you're talking about the golden gate, that is the secret codes of the 3, 6, and the 9, right? That's how you manipulate the matrix, because the 3, 6, and the 9 is connected to the pyramids. The pyramids is being used as a mechanism to flip the inverted world back into its original state, because one thing you got to understand about the Bible, God of the Bible is actually the devil, right? Because that's how you know that everything in the system is inverted. So the cosmic keys of the universe of the 3, 6, and the 9 is being used to put the planet back into its original state. It's flipping the inversion program that was built on indoctrination by Zuan, who was also known as Satan, who was a draconian reptilian, right? The world's going back into, it's flipping up right back upside down, because now you got to understand that the star Polaris is in alignment with the Aquarian age, but the Alpha Draconis star system was in alignment with the age of Pisces, Aries, and Taurus under the lunar cycle. So the keys of the universe, the secret code of the universe, the 3, 6, and the 9, is reversing the inversion of Satan, right? A draconian reptilian that we call Zuan or Tarnush, right? That's what you must understand. So the numbers have the ability to do the same thing that the pyramids do, right? Because one thing you got to understand about numbers have a numerical sequence that creates an energetic portal. Numbers are basically portals because it creates a mirror flip, as above, so below, not only to inanimate objects, as above, so below, when you're talking about the numbers, right? Everything in the system is a mirror flip, because when you see beyond the polarity consciousness and you go to the path of Malakut, you can't lose at all, right? Because you're not subjected to the dualistic paradox that's built on polarity. Anytime you're dealing with polarity, that's the illusion. But the keys of the universe, the 3, 6, and the 9, is how you get right back to the middle way, right? The galactic center, the Milky Way star constellation, going through the Golden Gate. So, hold on. Now, when you get into the metaphysics of it, this is talking about the grand unified theory that's based on 3 different forms of methodology. And it's based on negative neural networks and positive neural networks that harmonizes with electromagnetism. Those are the 3 forces. Those are the 3 forces that creates the energies of the 3, 6, and the 9, because it manipulates the space-time continuum. Because it also manipulates your neurological functions to where it breaks off caps of indoctrinations that was connected to the energy extraction matrix. So what's basically happening is that the grand unified theory and the cosmic keys of the universe of the 3, 6, and the 9 is connected to the astrocytes of the brain, which is the postsynaptic, presynaptic, and the trisynaptic, that's connected to the 3 pyramids of the pyramids of Giza, that's in alignment with the Orion star constellation, that's connected to the 3 sons of Utu, Apsu, and Shamash. That is what you call a tetrahedron of Atakar energy that harmonizes with the God body and the God frequency outside of the dome. That is what you're talking about from a metaphysical standpoint when you're talking about the grand unified theory that harmonizes with the cosmic keys of the universe. So One thing you got to understand about solar eclipses, it's basically a metaphysical, geometrical, mathematical equation because it operates under the Pythagorean theorem of the 47th problem of Euclid. So everything that's connected to the energy extraction matrix is also a geometric energy field to it because it contains different angles of light. Angles of light, which is angels of light, because the angles is being extracted from the sun by way of 90-degree angles, which is what you see right here. But it also creates the energy of man, woman, and child that is connected to the energy of matriarchy that's connected to the Fibonacci sequence of nature, which is basically the original blueprint of everything that's connected to the system as we get back to the galactic center. So this is a mathematical equation when you're talking about the Pythagorean theorem of the 47 problem of Euclid, right? Because that 47 problem of Euclid is what creates the 47 degree on the Masonic square and compass, right? Squaring the circle. That's how you square the circle. The 47-degree Pythagorean theorem of the 47 problem of Euclid, because it's basically talking about the galactic center, because everything has to be in alignment. Because in the Freemasonry, when you look at a Masonic tracing board, you have the two dualistic pillars. You have Jack and Boaz, the sun and the moon. But when you put them both together, that's what creates the galactic center as you get right back to the middle way. So this solar eclipse is really just a portal to get right back to Big Mama, what we call the mothership or the star Polaris, right? So this is not really a solar eclipse. It's actually, a portal by way of, geomancy and by way of numerical sequences and by way of the metaphysics of the grand unified theory and by way of the Pythagorean theorem of the 47 problem of Euclid. This is basically a metaphysical equation telling us about what's taking place on the planet and how that solar eclipse that's going to be taking place in 2027 is actually a portal to the Golden Gate that's going to lead us into the golden age. So the 47 problem of Euclid is also the sigil of Melchizedek, who was also known as the true Lord of the Bible, who was also known as El Qadir. El Qadir, when you break it down in ancient Proto-Semitic language, it means the green one. The green one is basically within your genetic format because you have the spirit of Melchizedek. You become the spirit of Melchizedek because you're connected to the seeds of Enki. When you break down the etymology of Enki, En means Lord, Ki means sky. Ki means Kai, which is earth. So Lord of earth. So those that's connected to the earth by way of indigenous practices, we are the ones that's connected to the Sufi order of the Sons of Green Light, which is the spirit of Melchizedek, who is Tahuti, Thoth. It's the same person, right? You got to understand, the mythologies in order to understand what's taking place from a metaphysical standpoint and a geometrical standpoint. Sacred geometry in itself is what creates the sigils, but the sigils in itself has a mathematical equation. And everything that's connected to mathematics is basically frozen light. Frozen light in itself is connected to the factions of the sun that creates subatomic energy. This is why they say that God is omnipotent, omnipresent, and universal and infinite and eternal, right? The reason that is because that's basically talking about ether. Ether has the ability to be everywhere. When they say God is everywhere and Jesus is everywhere, you really just saying that ether is everywhere because ether is Melchizedek. That's the true Lord of your so-called Bible. Now, I was telling you, the universe, the galactic center, they're also a sigil that's connected to the functions of the brain when you're talking about the brain cell. So it says right here, what if the entire universe is just a brain cell inside of the human, inside the mind of something far beyond our comprehension? As above, so below, as within, so without. Sorry. I told you guys in the beginning of the video about that. And I don't want to get too far in the video, the presentation, because I'm pretty sure I got a video to show you guys. Hold on for a second. All right. I think I got a video. No, I don't got one yet. But yeah. Now, one thing you got to understand, like I said, the universe, as far as the galactic center, you know what I'm saying, as far as like the universe in itself, the Milky Way star constellation, our neurological faculties, our genetic format is basically an emulation of what's taking place on a macrocosmic level when you're talking about the universe. Everything that you see that's in nature is basically within you at the same time. But you have to understand what time it is on the planet, because everything that you're seeing right now by way of nature is basically dog whistles. It's telling you what time it is in the simulation. But you have to break those caps that's connected to those neurons, right? Now, it says right here, a living collective. Study shows trees synchronize electrical signals during a solar eclipse, right? Why they just now telling you this, right? Because one thing you got to understand, like I said, a solar eclipse is basically a portal right back to the galactic center. The galactic center is the Milky Way star constellation, where you have a fifth dimensional civilization. All fifth dimensional civilizations harmonize with the Milky Way star constellation, because that's basically the apex of the cosmic creation of the womb of Mother Nature in the womb of the universe, right? So that means that this is why you have more trees on planet Earth than you do stars inside the Milky Way star constellation, because the trees is basically operating from a tachyon energy to stream down intelligence from the Milky Way star constellation. So that's why you have to basically, ground yourself and hug trees during the times of solar eclipses, because that's when the star Polaris is basically giving intelligence and new DNA upgrades to these trees to give to you, right? It's an energy extraction, right? It's a sacred energy exchange that's connected to the Fibonacci sequence and the ecological systems of nature. You got to get your ass right back into nature if you want to activate and upgrade yourself. Just like when you go to the mall or whatever, you go to the phone store, you get a phone upgrade or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You got to give an exchange. It's an energy exchange. You exchange your money for a new phone, an upgrade. So the real currency is actually the solar eclipse, the black sun within you, to activate your currency, which is your spiritual gifts, right? So that's the energy exchange that you get with nature. You have to upgrade yourself just like how you upgrade your damn phone, right? You always want to upgrade your phone, but you don't want to get your ass in nature to upgrade yourself, right? And these are the cosmic keys. You have to understand the metaphysical energies of science and understand how science also is connected to different forms of theology, because they both go hand in hand. Because if you understand who you are genetically, you will know that you're the God that you're actually reading about in the damn Bible, right? So this is why I said, get out in nature, get these energies, right? Upgrade yourself. That's what it's all about. You have to upgrade your physiology. You have to upgrade your spirit, your mind, your body, all these things. Because the golden age is cultivated by what? Balance. Everybody in the chat put the scales of balance. Put the scales of a balance emoji in the chat, right? I'm a Libra. We're gonna put the scales of justice in the chat, right? So now it tells you right here. I told you, as we get back to the galactic center and we get to these the apex of a fifth dimensional civilization, what's going to happen is it's going to unlock the seventh seal, but it can only be unlocked by the Lamb. Who is the Lamb? The ones who have the non-ether. But the non-ether cannot be activated unless you harmonizes with the energies of nature that is connected to these coronal mass ejections. These are DNA upgrades. So the more you wake up, it's going to cause more volcanic eruptions, right? Because volcanoes are basically the pimples of planet Earth. That's what a volcano is. A volcano is the pimple of planet Earth. You got to understand that. So that's why, just like when you washing your damn face, right? You got the pimple, but you got to go through a cleansing process. So the planet is going through a cleanse. So these coronal mass ejections is basically the skincare routine to planet Earth. That's what you're seeing taking place right now. The planet is going through a purification process by way of the red sun, which is the great purifier of what we call the red star Kachina. So multiple volcanoes across the United States from Alaska to Hawaii are now active or on alert with rumbling gas releases with the carbon dioxide that gives an intrinsic energy and greenery to the ecological systems of nature that creates a birthing process. So minor eruptions marking a surge in seismic activity. when you're talking about sedimentary rock formation, right? It's going to create more earthquakes. Point blank, period, right? It's kind of like I said, it's a filtering system that's underground that's creating these energies as well. All this is not geoengineered, not everything. Some of this is being activated by nature. When you're talking about the energy that is extracted, the green energy that is extracted from the mothership above the firmament. So you got multiple United States volcanoes are waking up, but scientists says it's all a part of Earth's natural rhythm because the planet is going back into its original corporeal perception, the original circadian rhythm. Because, like I said, the keys of the universe of the 3, 6, and the 9 that is extracted from the solar eclipse of 2027 is what's bringing us right back into the original circadian rhythm of Mother Nature. We're going back into its original balance. So that means that the inverted energy of Satan is basically being eradicated because, like I was telling y'all once before, the 6,000 years is up. So now you got to turn the hourglass right upside right now. So now, like I said, all these energies, it says, be careful, America. A superstorm is coming, right? Like I said, you have to understand these are two different timelines going on. An engineered reset, and then you having a reset that's being cultivated by the energy of nature. So, but first, hold on for a second. Yeah, then you have 25,000 lightning strikes recorded in Florida in 24 hours, right? Not a coincidence. Like I said, the planet is waking up. The planet is waking up, but there's also, covert psychological operations that's being, facilitated by the deep state shadow government. That's why you have to use your discernment as we get through the Great Awakening period. You have to be intuitive enough. So your intuition in itself is only activated by the gut. So that means that you have to get your health right because 90% of the serotonin is connected to your gut, which is the first brain, right? So in order to get your mental health right and your intuition right and your psychometry right, you have to get your dietary system right as well, right? You have to understand that because serotonin has the ability to convert over to melatonin, which gives you dopamine. And that dopamine in itself is connected to the soul that gives you the willpower to get up and go do something because you love it and you feel it, right? So now, as I was telling you guys, in the last transmission, I was talking about the Metatronic overlay, which is known as the fall of the demiurge. The demiurge is everything that's being in control of the firmament to where you cannot go above the waters to get to the realm of God. Because God of the Bible is Satan, and Satan, he separated the intergalactic waters from the third dimension and created the firmament. So that's why I said we're basically encapsulated by Leviathan, right? Which is why you see the serpent or the dragon at the bottom, right? And it's showing you the waters of chaos symbolizes the dragon. The dragon is actually what we call Leviathan, the sleep spell of King Gu that's all connected to it, right? Because the true sun is actually the realm of God that's outside of the firmament. That's where you see the mothership will be at, right? When you're talking about, the positive faction of the Anunnaki, when you're talking about the seraphim. Now, this was also reposted by Rod Hayes, and it's telling you about the Pacific Ocean ring of fire is waking up. Now, this is reposted by Rod Hayes. Now, one thing you got to understand about the ring of fire, the ring of fire, that's only being activated because you had the ring of fire solar eclipse on my birthday of October 14th of 2024. That was also during the time of a solar eclipse on October 14th of 2024. That solar eclipse on my birthday was called the Ring of Fire solar eclipse. So it's not a coincidence that the Pacific Ring of Fire is waking up. So like I said, all these solar eclipses is basically metaphysical energies that's pulling you right back into the galactic center. And it's operating in different, factions of waves. It's happening in different phases, basically. Now, I'm going to show you a video. No, I don't think we need that video yet. So hit the scales of justice, put the scales of justice, you know what I'm saying, for the Libra energy, put the scales up in the chat, put the scales up. So with that being said, you got Bill Gates predicts only jobs of coders, biologists, and energy experts will survive the AI takeover. Like I told you. But it's one of those things, like I said, they know the simulation is going to be extracted by the energy and manipulated by the cosmic UV radiation like spectrum. They know it's going to be manipulated. This is why they want to build another dome over the planet. And this is another reason why they want to build another dome over the geographical landmass of America. That's because they want to create those smart cities. And they also want to keep you inside. They're going to keep you inside because they know that the sun is getting hotter. Because the Canaanite and the epidermis layer of their skin can take the G-force from the UV radiation light spectrum. They can't take their genetic format is not connected to the sun. So this is why they have things like the 99th annual sunburn competition that just took place in Pahokee, Florida, right? They know it's getting hotter on the planet. They know it. Because one thing you cannot run from is the sun, right? Because that sun is going to expose everything. Because that sun is connected to the true light. The sun that we have in the simulation is not the true light, but it's connected to the true light because it's operating on fractions of light. And that fractions of light operates at 90-degree angles, which makes you a L, which is the Elohim, right? Because when you look at a 90-degree angle, it shows you the letter L, but the L is a derivative of the Elohim, who is the Anunnaki. So that means that you become the Anunnaki by way of your genetic format that harmonizes with the sun that activates the neuromelanin. And that neuromelanin transmutes into a melanocyte. And that melanocyte is an intelligence molecule that makes the body, the carbon body, photovoltaic to the point it's able to transmute UV radiation energy into cosmic energy. So that means that you become an L by way of the energies of the sun. You have the ability to become the Anunnaki, right? So that's why I said you are the portal. We are the portal. We are the cosmic portal that they speak of. We are the portal that they speak of in metaphysics. Because one thing you got to understand about the carbon body in itself, when you're talking about 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, you're talking about the Higgs boson particle, which is also known as the God particle, because the God particle in itself has the ability to manipulate space, time, and matter. And the reason you have the ability to do that because your genetic format contains quarks and leptons. Quarks and leptons create, different forms of neutrinos, and those neutrinos opens up a different rip in the universe to where you're able to have dimensional travel. So that's why I said genetically you are the portal. You're basically like a walking CERN machine, right? So that's why I said, magnetism in itself, when it's cultivated by airthrow energy, is able to extract, different meteorites from the asteroid belt, right? So this is why I said your genetic format is connected to something that's way beyond the Metatronic overlay. It's way more metaphysical that they speak about in so-called science, which is pseudoscience because it's built on Western colonization. So all of the bases in DNA and RNA have now been found in meteorites, right? So when you're just looking at this meteorite, it looks just like our genetic format when you're talking about the epidermis layer of our skins, right? It looks just like us. Everything in nature is dark. So that's why I say you have to activate your dark matter energy in order to harmonize with these energies. So that's why I said there's as many different, demographics and NPCs on this planet. They don't have internal monologue. Internal monologue is that little voice in your head. And that little voice in your head is your inner child, which is your soul. So a lot of people on this planet don't have a soul. So they're not going to get the energies from these meteorites that's streaming down from, the asteroid belt. All these energies, the solar eclipses, everybody is not going to get that upgrade, right? Because basically a person being an NPC is basically a phone without a SIM card. That's what an NPC is. They're basically a phone without a SIM card. They don't have a soul, right? They don't have enough data space in order to get those cosmic downloads. When you have different meteorites, they don't have the genetic format to do that, right? This is why some people on the planet, certain demographics, they lose up to 3% of collagen on their epidermis layer of their skin, right? Because what your skin does, it basically absorbs the information. That's why you have holes inside your skin. Those are basically solar panels. But the solar energy is information. Electromagnetism, light, is information. That's why you got to convert it into gamma radiation, right? Because the carbon body in itself is a electromagnetic generator and a light code transducer. You have to transduce the information from the DNA to the mRNA and upload it into the neurological interface with what we call the neocortex, which makes you the one. Now, it says the origin of the rainbow and the chakras, because like I said, the serpent in itself, when you're talking about Apep, which is Apophis is where a human becomes God in the golden age. So that means that Apep is actually a serpent that's associated with Amun-Ra in ancient Kemetic spirituality, because Amun-Ra is a solar eclipse. So this is talking about the cosmic serpent, the Kundalini chakra systems, right? So anytime that you see, anything talking about the dark hour or the darkest hour, is really talking about a solar eclipse, which is a portal to activate your black chakra within you by way of the Kundalini energy. That's what this is basically talking about, right? Because you have to have enough prana, right? When you get into Hinduism, prana is the life force that activates the serpent, the cosmic serpent. Right? So like I said, when you activate the cosmic serpent, then you activate the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum is connected to the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain, right? And then that's when you create the wings of a dove, which gives you ascension because you activated the crown of knowledge, the crown chakra. This is why only the chosen ones is only going to get to the hereafter, because you have to turn your tinfoil hat into a crown of knowledge. When you have that crown of knowledge, that's when you're going to know that you're the chosen one. Because like I said, ascension is not for everybody. Everybody doesn't have the prana life force. Everybody doesn't have a soul, right? And this is why I say when you get a transliteration of the book of Revelation, El's Holy Injyil, it denotes the fact that you have a negative faction and a positive faction. Chosen ones versus NPCs. Inky versus Injyil. Left brain versus right brain. So in order to manipulate the polarity consciousness, you have to go within, get right back to yourself, which is the galactic center within you and within the cosmos and connected to everything in the universe. So now I told you guys, I was in engineering. Now, when you're talking about the keys of the universe of the 3, 6, and the 9, right? It's really talking about, a mathematical equation, talking about the 47 problem of Euclid that creates a solar eclipse. Now, when you're talking about the keys of the universe, right? The 3, 6, and the 9, it operates just like the pyramids, but the pyramids operates just like a thermo extruder. So what you're looking at right here is a thermo extruder. I used to be in engineering, right? So when you're looking at a thermo extruder, what you're looking at right here is showing you how everything that's connected to westernized technology is actually a microcosm of who we are genetically, right? Because when you look at, this technology of this extruder machine, it's showing you the screw right here. There's a screw inside an extruder machine that basically crushes up and seeps out different forms of plastic and stuff like that. But it's basically kind of like a form of energy transfer from a metaphysical standpoint. So this screw is basically the embodiment of your 33rd vertebrae, right? This is basically the embodiment of your 33rd vertebrae that's connected to the crown chakra and all this stuff. So when you're looking at this is the serpent, but the screw in itself, like I said, is traveling up the spine, the serpent, to get to the 33rd vertebrae. The same thing takes place when you're talking about this extruder machine, because actually extrusion in itself came from ancient Kemet. So when it goes up the 33rd vertebrae, it creates a form of materialization, right? Because that's what the cosmic keys of the universe is all about. When you get to the apex of a fifth dimensional civilization, it means that you have the ability to alchemize and be able to manifest at will. So this is how the extruder machine works. This is how you're supposed to manifest. If you pay attention to nature, or if you just pay attention to how technology in the Western world works, it's basically showing you how to manifest things in physical existence. So this hopper right here, this hopper is where you put the material in. But the hopper is basically like a form of the crown chakra, or whatever chakra point where you're talking about the bring in energy. That's what's basically represents this. So imagine just solar flares going in this hopper that's giving a positive electrical frequency to the life force at the base of the spine, and then it goes up the spinal cord. But so this is why you have different chambers, which are the thermocouples. The thermocouples are basically the chambers or the chakra systems of the machine. So it goes through these different chakra systems, the plastic does. And then once it gets to the transducer, so this is the head of the machine right here. Just like you have a transducer on an extruder, we have a transducer too. It's called the neuroendocrine transducer. So once it goes through the transducer, boom, this is when it basically materializes, because once it goes through the thermocoupler right here, the transducer, it goes into a mode, an injection mode. And once it goes through the injection mode, you get a physical part. That's what I'm saying. This is a form of manifestation by way of technology and engineering. It's showing you in real time. So if you basically connect that to who you are metaphysically, you'll have the ability to do the same thing. That means that you have to use your emotions as a catalyst. You have to use your emotions as a navigation system to pull down manifestations. So what I'm saying is, it's like, you ever wanted something so bad that you had to cry for it. I wouldn't say cry for it, that your emotions just soaked up the idea. You have to let your emotions soak up the idea to make it materialize in real time. So this is how an extruder machine works. It operates just like how we do, right? That is the cosmic keys of the universe, of the 3, 6, and the 9. Because I said it's connected to your neurological functions. When you're talking about the Ark of the Covenant, the pituitary gland, hypothalamus gland, the pineal gland, connected to the sphenoid bone, that is your Ark of the Covenant to basically string down intelligence to manipulate the system. This is connected to the astrocytes in the brain as well, right? Now, before we get into this, I'm gonna show you some videos. No, I'm gonna wait till they get to other part of the presentation. Now, we're gonna come back to that. Now we're gonna get into some theological context that breaks everything down metaphysically. When you go to El's Holy Injyil, which is a transliteration of the Book of Revelation that was created by Dr. Malachi Z. York, Freedom Master Teacher. Now, as I was telling you guys, solar eclipses play a big part of the Great Awakening period, because the solar eclipse from October 14th of 2024 on my birthday, then you had the solar eclipse from 2027, and then you had another solar eclipse that happened in 2023. All those solar eclipses created the ancient Alpha symbol. And the ancient Alpha symbol is a judgment symbol, which is basically the Alpha and Omega. So this is why it tells you right here, which it gives you a transliteration of the Book of Revelation. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and end, the first and the last, which is the number 19, right? Because there's no such thing as the number 19. It's really talking about 1 and 9, because 1 is the beginning and 9 is the form of completion. So I am the Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. That is talking about the judgment symbols of the solar eclipses that took place in those 3 years of 2017, 2024, and 2023. That is what created the ancient Alpha symbol, which is a sigil of judgment over the geographical landmass of America. And then it tells you right here, the Anunnaki, Michael, was there when a man was procreated, and you will find him mentioned throughout the Book of Revelation because he has 720 degrees of knowledge and 360 degrees of physical knowledge. So that's why I said now we're going to get right back here because, like I said, 360 degrees of physical knowledge, 360 degrees of the physical plane. So there's a reason why. Watch this, because Dr. York was right. I'm going to watch this. Now, I told you that solar eclipse in 2027 was lasting up all the way up until about 360 seconds. 360 seconds is 6 minutes. So go dark on August 2nd, 2027. It says go dark for 6 minutes. Now, 360 seconds of darkness in the world. Now, like I said, I'm telling y'all, it's the black sun. The black sun is the star Polaris, which is the mothership that's basically in alignment with all of our celestial bodies. So the 360 in itself, like I said, this is basically the portal, which is basically the portal to end the physical world, right? That's why in the prophecy of popes, they said that the world is going to end in 2027. They said that verbatim in the prophecy of popes. So this solar eclipse is actually a portal. It's a portal of physical destruction. Everything in the universe comes 360 by way of karmic retribution. And you also cannot negate right now that Saturn is also in retrograde, right? We break it out of the time, the Kali Yuga time cycle. So yeah, so it's going to basically 360 degrees of the physical knowledge. So the physical knowledge is basically a part of the Metatronic overlay. It's a part of the illusion. So that means that everything that was created by way of inversion is going right back into 360 degrees of spirituality. And it says right here, verbatim, the book with the 7 seals is the mother of all scriptures, known as the tablets of destiny. Now, the tablets of destiny is actually talking about the chakra systems within your genetic format and the chakra systems of Earth. Because the tablets of destiny is basically the scroll of all. The scroll of all is the unraveling of DNA, which is your energetic library of what we call the Akashic records. So that's basically located in the paradise of Nibiru, of what we call Nibbara. And Nibbara means a different space and time that's cultivated by the solar eclipse, which is a portal that leads you to the hereafter, which is the golden age, as you get right back to the golden gate. The opening of the 7th seal is mentioned right in the book of Revelation of chapter 8. So then it says right here at the bottom, and when the Lamb opened up the 7th stamp, the 7th seal, because the Lamb are the ones who have the non-ether. So when you're talking about Lamb in the Bible, they're talking about those who have the non-ether genetical properties. And then when you're talking about the goat, they're talking about the ones who have the 6 ether genetical properties. So the ones who have the non-ether by way of human consciousness, we have the ability to open up the 7th seal by way of the cosmic radiation that's coming down to the planet that's extracted from the solar eclipse and by solar flares. A witness says this, yes, surely I am coming soon, Amun. Because one thing you gotta, like I said, Amen, or when you say amen in church, when you say amen, you're really saying Amun. Amun is also known as Amun Ra, which is the hidden sun, because Amun means hidden. What is hidden? That is the black chakra. The black chakra is actually the black sun. So that means that the solar eclipse is actually an omen to those who don't understand Amen because they don't have the genetics to activate Amen, which is your pineal gland, which is the black chakra, right? So that's why it says, I am coming soon, Amun, the hidden Messiah. But that only could be cultivated by the energy of the Kryptonian energy, the non-noble gas that activates the non-ether. So Amen or Amun, which means faithful or hidden. Hidden, that's what it means, right? So then when you get into this, now, as I was telling you guys, you have to, as we get through the darkest hour, as we get through the Great Awakening period, as we get through the galactic center that's giving us the cosmic keys of the universe, you have to understand the dichotomy between the cherubim and the seraphim. Now, the seraphim is also known as the Elohim that were created from the reflection of the Heavenly Father, who was known as Anu, who was known as El Elyon El, who was also known as Theos, which is where they got the word Thanos from. When you're talking about the Endgame movie in Marvel, he was basically a personification of the Most High. So the real Most High's name is Anu or El Elyon El or Theos, right? So they are the pure green essence of light, called Noraru. Seraphims means those who are of fire, right? Which is the biotonic source of energy that's connected to the soul, that is cultivated by the energy of ether, the Sufi order of the sons of green light. So the seraphim is where Enki comes from, right? This is the seed of Enki. So that's why I said we are the seeds of Enki. Those who are propagating, getting the land back and talking about the restoration of the matriarch and wanting to, basically the system to basically crash, we are the seeds of Enki. So that means that we're the seeds of the seraphim, right? And then it tells you about right here that we are basically the seed of the righteous ones, right? The disciples of Anu. Now, when you get into the cherubim is basically the malevolent entities of the fallen angels. When you're talking about the 1/3 of the galaxy that went against the order of Anu, right? So the 1/3 of the galaxy is actually talking about the cherubim. The cherubim is actually talking about the Nephilim. The Nephilim, when you get into ancient Proto-Semitic language, Nephilim is equated to Nephala. Nephala means fallen angel. So those fallen angels were giants. It tells you in the book of Deuteronomy that you had giants in the Bible, right? It tells you that 1 cubit of a man is 18 inches. And 18 inches is basically, and you times that by 12, I know it equates to 13.5 feet. I forgot the equation, but I know that the Nephilim, when you break down the numerical sequence of it, it shows you that they're basically 13.5 feet. So these Nephilim, when they fell, these are the cherubim. These are the cherubim that was kicked out of heaven. 1/3 of the galaxy that went against the order of Anu. These are the seeds of Injyil. And Injyil in itself is also basically a draconian reptilian, right? They call him Zuan or Enzu, which is a nomenclature title for Injyil. So when you see Zuan, it's an anagram for Enzu. Zu means Lil, which is sky, Lord of the sky. So that's why I said cherubims repent to serve the Heavenly Father Anu and now guard the gates of paradise in the heavenly sky. But the sky is only encapsulated inside of the firmament. So this is the negative faction, right? They operate on the lesser light, which is the amber light. They are the reflection of the color amber light, which is nar, which is fire, right? So this is why I said you got to understand the titles. That's how you understand what's taking place on the planet. You will know that it's connected to Baal and Moloch and all these other entities. And it tells you right here. Now, the reason I got to tell you about this is because it's all talking about the Orion star constellation war. And it says there was a battle in the Orion skies. Michael and his agreeable archangels, messengers, Anunnaki, Elohim, Seraphim, fought against Zuan, the evil one, and his disagreeable messengers, Anunnaki, Elohim, who are the cherubim. So that means, like I said, you got to understand the timeline because Zuan or Injyil is the same person as Satan. Satan is a draconian reptilian. So this is why I said the cosmic keys of the universe is taking us right back to the galactic center. So this is why you having a cosmic war. This is why they want the firmament over the planet, right? This is why they want to keep the firmament over the planet. But like I said, now everything is being manipulated by way of different, celestial alignments. So, and there was a war in the heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought his angels. And then it tells you, and it was the Anunnaki Melchizedek, the spirit of Melchizedek, who are the ones who are operating from the green light. And I know that Zuan, called Tarnush or Satan, the devil in Revelation 6:5 is trying to trick you. Because one thing you got to understand about archonic forces, they're basically trickster gods. So when you're talking about Satan and the devil and the 1/3 of the angels and the cherubim, These are the archons. These are the archons who are known as trickster gods and ruler gods because they don't have the ability to create. Only you can be a seraphim to be a creator god. A ruler god is coming from the corporate apparatus that's connected to everything that's in the Western world. Those are the people that's connected to that. Now, before we get into this, I'm gonna show you a video because it's one of those things where, like I said, the perception of art imitates reality. And if you see it enough in the media, it's going to have to, materialize in real life. It's going to have to embark upon, everyday reality. So they have to give you the reality of extraterrestrials because when you're talking about angels of the Bible, you're really talking about Anunnaki. Anunnaki is really just extraterrestrial entities that come from different star systems, right? Where they come from the 19th galaxy and the eighth planet. When you're talking about Ilihun, which is Eliab, when you go to Holy Quran, chapter 86, verse 3. It tells you in all these publications that extraterrestrials are real, but you're looking at it from a indoctrinated theological concept. That's the problem. So in the book of Revelation, it talks about the Lamb, the ones who have the non-ether. And we're going against the disagreeable ones as we get through the darkest hour. So that's why I said Satan is referred to as Zuin. Zuin is basically a nomenclature title for Enlil because Zuin is a anagram for Enzu. Enzu is Enlil, which is Lord of the Sky. Satan was the Prince of Air. So that means that Satan and Enlil basically go hand in hand. And it says that his physical description is a scaly reptilian. He is one of the worst personalities. He is basically what we call the dragon. The dragon is where you get Draco from. Draco is equated to Draconian reptilian in the Draconian star constellation. So that's why Satan, who was known as the Prince of Air, Enlil, he was in control during the time of the lunar cycle because the lunar cycle was in alignment with the age of Pisces, Aries, and Taurus. That was the time where the indigenous people got colonized. This is the time where the European who gave the power to the beast, right? Not the European, but this is where the Draconian reptilian gave power to the beast to overthrow the seeds of Enki for 6,000 years. So that's why I said the 6,000 years is up. So the dragon, when you're talking about dragons, is the Draconian reptilian, Draconian star constellation, right? Now, during the time of solar eclipses, this is why you have to be operate from a place of light language. Because one thing you got to understand about light language is the embodiment of ancient Proto-Semitic language and ancient Moabite language. Because those languages in itself has a positive electrical frequency because they're highly magnetic. It contains silicon and carbon. And anything that's cultivated by carbon and when it harmonizes with ether, it has the ability to materialize. So that is basically another way of the cosmic keys of the universe of the 3, 6, and the 9 on how to manifest by way of your linguistics and your vocabulary and your words, right? So this is why you have to tap in back into the light languages, which is Semitic and ancient Moabite. All these other languages is coming from the negative faction. This is why, the so-called people over in Israel, they read out of the Talmud because the Talmud is spoken by the people of Babylon. And the people of Babylon worship Moloch, and Moloch is Baal, and Baal is actually Zuin. Zuin is Enlil. Enlil is actually Satan. So that's why I said God of this world is actually Satan. So now this is where we get into the mothership aspect of it. And I'm going to show you a video first, and then we're going to get right back to that. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. All right. You know what I'm saying? Don't be. All right. All right. So like I said, don't be a monitoring spirit, about, 50 to 60% of the people who watch this channel, they're not subscribed to the channel. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button, because like I said, we're breaking down the end time prophecies in real time. And I'm showing you how it basically lines up of what's taking place in westernized media.
Information about a comet passing Earth, first discovered on July 1st near Jupiter, with scientists not knowing where it came from. Now, eventually, they figured out this object, now named 3I Atlas, was an interstellar visitor. Astronomers in Hawaii have captured the first close-up image.
The third one was discovered on July 1st, 2025, this year, just a few weeks ago. There is a new interstellar object, at least a candidate at that time. That was just the night over which it was realized by a few amateur astronomers that indeed the Atlas survey, that's a telescope of 0.5 meter, which by coincidence discovered the third interstellar object, 3I Atlas. The reason I said you should take a vacation before October 29th is if it happens not to be a comet. So if we don't see a cometary tail, that would
be. This is basically their way of telling you that there's a mothership in our atmosphere. That's all they're basically telling you. But they, like I said, they're using it in a form of tricknology and semantics. So they're giving it to you in a form of westernized pseudo-intellectualism. Because like I said, if your system was built on colonization, that means that the information that you're propagating is actually fake. That means that you have to invert science. That means that you have to invert history. That means that you have to invert metaphysics in order to fit your story. But your story is history, and history is not really your story. It's my story, right? So, like I said, you have to, read between the lines. When they telling you about alien tech or anything that's basically like a comet, they're really telling you, hey, there's a mothership outside of the firmament, right?
Be really intriguing. Irrespective of the trajectory, just the fact that it's a 20-kilometer object, it cannot be, there is not enough mass in rocks in interstellar space to give you a 20-kilometer object every decade. And what I'm saying is by orders of magnitude, I'm not talking about a factor of 2, orders of magnitude, several orders of magnitude off. The numbers just don't match. So if it's not a comet, it's really strange, and we should be worried about it being technological.
A mystery interstellar object spotted by astronomers last week could be the oldest comet ever seen, according to scientists. It's only the third time they've detected an object that's come from beyond our solar system.
This is the first we saw of it, a mysterious interstellar object. It is only the third time we have detected an object that has come from beyond our solar system. As far away as the planet Jupiter, 3I Atlas was discovered last week, and astronomers raced to identify it. Now they think they have.
This means that 3I is almost certainly the oldest comet we have ever seen, by about 4 billion years.
Scientists from Oxford University presented their findings today at the Royal Astronomical Society meeting.
And this is how you know they lied, because comets don't change trajectory. The reason that you have motherships and shams is able to change trajectory is because they have geometric energy fields, meaning that it's basically a rogue planet. Anything that's basically rogue, it operates from a place of autonomy. It has its own autonomous solar system to where it's able to move around different, forms of different dimensional realities.
In Durham.
The discovery is really exciting. I've just finished my PhD, where I spent 4 years predicting what the population of interstellar objects is going to look like. And for the first time in that time, we have new data to apply these predictions to and make comparisons and do some really interesting science. So it's absolutely fantastic. Our range says that it's probably older than kind of 7 or 8 billion years. The sun and the solar system and the Earth only formed about 4.5 billion years ago. So it could easily be twice as old as the planet we're stood on, the sun that's shining on me now, and every single other comet that we've seen so far.
What's the significance of an object like this entering our solar system?
Well, these are really exciting. This is only the third one ever discovered. And what these are, they're leftovers from the process of building planets and stars in another solar system. And this is the only way we're ever going to get a close-up sample to study even briefly as it passes through our solar system. The important thing is we'd like to see if planet building process is the same elsewhere, because that has implications for life elsewhere.
So close-up is a relative term because by most standards it's pretty far, maybe not by astronomical standards, and it's only been a short period of time since it was detected. Have we learned anything so far about this comet?
Certainly, of course, we're still in the mad scramble to get telescope time to take the observations and analyze them. But we know that it's relatively big compared to the other two. The other two were kilometer scale or so. This one could be as large as maybe 20 kilometers in diameter, but that's an upper limit. It's red, meaning it's probably covered in organic materials like comets are. We haven't seen any signature that it's spinning yet, but there's a lot of dust coming off of this. So what we're hoping for as it gets closer to the sun is to really understand the chemistry to see if it's different from other star systems.
The team think the comet originated here in the Milky Way from a place called...
Now, remember I was telling you, the Milky Way star constellation is actually the galactic center. The galactic center is how you get right back to the path of the Milky Way, which is the path of Malkuth, which is the star Polaris. The star Polaris is how you get right back to the mothership, Big Mama. So that means that these comets is creating an energy extraction, is extracting energy from the asteroid belt and sending information in the form of an asteroid or a comet or a solar flare and sending upgrades to the planet. That's all it's basically doing.
The thick disk full of ancient stars. Its orbit seen here in red dotted lines. When it approaches the sun later this year, 3I Atlas could leave a tail of blazing dust visible from Earth. Before this, only 2 interstellar objects had ever been seen. Now, with the newest telescope, Vera Rubin in Chile, starting an immense celestial survey, we could find many more of these remarkable visitors. Georgina Ranard, News.
Now, as insane as it may sound, it looks like a Harvard paper by social science researchers raised some pretty far out there possibilities that could explain.
See that at the bottom, Harvard research claims aliens may live on Earth.
The whole UAP stuff that I have become very obsessed with. They're posing 4 possibilities, like maybe crypto-terrestrials or like this secret advanced civilization that's been hiding somewhere here on Earth, or even maybe the moon where we can't see them, or maybe humans from the future visiting us, or maybe like magical beings like fairies or angels are real. Now, has this paper been peer-reviewed? No. Looks like the original link doesn't work anymore either, but those headlines traveled the world anyway. So what the heck is going on? Well, we are lucky enough to be joined by the one and only Harvard academic and astrophysicist who we've been talking to about UAP issues for years, Harvard University professor of science and astronomy, Avi Loeb. Professor, thanks so much for being with us. And as soon as I saw the headlines on this paper, I ran to this paper, I scanned, I did not see your name attached there. So I do have to say, though, whether you had anything to do with this or not, you have been, in my eyes, one of the first academics, Ivy League academics, that has taken the idea of extraterrestrials very seriously and discussed it. I'm not sure what kind of Pandora's box you opened, but when it comes to this paper, I got to ask, what do you think about your peers, what they're writing over at Harvard there?
Well, thanks for having me. Indeed, I think that it's arrogant of us to think that we are the only ones out there. There might be a much more advanced civilization. It's very easy to come up with ideas, much more difficult to come up with materials from interstellar space. So I'm actually pursuing the latter.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the last time we checked in with you, I think you had just gotten back from an ocean expedition in the middle of the Pacific, I believe, or in the middle of the ocean, looking for like the tiniest little fragments of what you thought might be an interstellar probe, or a probe from, another civilization potentially. Like, what's the latest with the material evidence there?
This object was discovered as a meteor. It exploded over the Pacific Ocean. The fireball that released a few percent of the Hiroshima atomic...
I noticed you said, Pacific Ocean. Right, so don't be surprised. Remember, they got the 2 million giant eggs under underground volcano at the Seamount Axle that's connected to the root chakra of planet Earth over there by Mount Shasta. So don't negate that as well. And then you got all that activity, the Cascadian Subduction Zone, and then you also have the San Andreas Fault Line, Golden Gate Bridge rituals and everything. Pay attention to what's taking place.
Bomb energy was detected by sensors aboard the US government satellites, and they pinpointed the location. Based on that region that the Department of Defense provided us with, we went there and we put a sled with magnets on the ocean floor, going back and forth 26 times, and we collected spherules. These are molten droplets from the explosion of a meteor, and 10% of those showed a chemical composition that was never reported before in the scientific literature, does not resemble what we find on Earth, Mars, the Moon, or any other solar system material that we are familiar with. And so our inclination is that it came from outside the solar system. The evidence that the meteor itself came from outside the solar system was that it was moving faster than 95% of the stars outside the solar system. It was very fast, and moreover, it disintegrated only in the lower atmosphere, so it was tougher than all meteors previously reported by NASA. And therefore, we are presently planning another expedition to find bigger fragments, bigger pieces among the wreckage of this meteor.
So with that being said, we got that video. I'm going to show you another video. Matter of fact, now I got to demonstrate. That passage in El's Holy Injyil and how it's connected to this video. All right. Where'd he go? Okay. All right. So now when you look at, El's Holy Injyil, like I said, it's telling you about the mothership. Why is it moving so much? All right, it's telling you about the mothership. And it says, the Angelos, the Anunnaki, Michael and his highest priest and nobles, the Anunnaki, while on the planet Earth, he is the supreme being, the highest. Theos, Anu, who is also known as El Onleo El, Anunnakis, Michael, ruler of Malakut and Nibiru, planet of the crossing, the great mothership, the realm of the Elohim Anunnakis. He is called the Ancient of Days, right? Neither has the beginning or days or end of life in Revelation 22:13. So it's showing you, this tells you the reality of the mothership. It's telling you. And then when you even get into, different other forms of theological context, it tells you about, resurrection process. This is basically an esoteric breakdown of everything in the book of Revelation. It tells you the description of the mothership in the Crystal City that just came out with the new Superman movie that shows you the Crystal City. I broke that down in my last transmission. Then they got the appearance of the Anunnaki and Michael and Melchizedek, as I was telling you guys. And then you got the 4 living creatures. Everything as far as like what's going to be taking place in the future when you're talking about the end of the world from 2027 on up into the year of 2030, it's talking about it in El's Holy Injyil, transliteration of the book of Revelation. It tells you in it, you can't make this up. So with that being said, now I'm going to show you one more video and then we're going to get back to the rest of the presentation. All right. If you're new to the channel, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen.
Is unclear, leaving many residents here in Pueblo County listening and wondering.
This is what we know right now. This afternoon, Blount County Sheriff's Office received reports of people hearing a loud boom in the area. Around the same time, the city of Alcoa reported around 2,000 people that were without power. However, a spokesperson for the city of Alcoa now telling 6 News the outage was caused by a falling tree. Power has been restored to the affected areas. Blount County Sheriff's Office says Alcoa Utilities is checking to see if any transformers blew. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for the city of Alcoa is telling us the source of the boom remains a mystery this afternoon. Now, we reached out to the 134th Air Refueling Wing who work in the area, and they say nothing that they were doing could have produced that sonic boom or whatever it was. So again, we'll continue to investigate for you. But a lot of people were calling and asking about that today.
We have gotten several calls, several emails about this. A lot of people heard it and felt it. Now, the good news is no injuries are reported from this. Police, though, are still trying to figure out where it came from.
Still a bit of a mystery, so we sent our Jared Austin to Blount County to try to get some answers. He's joining us live. Jared, you talked with city officials, police, people who heard the boom. What have you found out so far?
Yeah, the biggest thing right now, just to reiterate something that you guys had just said, is that this is not electric related according to the city of Alcoa. They had an outage earlier, but it was not related to this specific boom. Also had a conversation with the Maryville Police Department. They did report no injuries, nothing like that. They're still trying to get some answers on this, trying to figure out what everybody is talking about on social media and these Maryville groups and all across Blount County. What was that loud boom? So we took some of those things to some of you out here. I actually chatted with a couple folks off camera. They heard it, didn't want to go on camera, but they said it was something that happened super quick. They didn't know exactly what it was, but now all their friends are talking about it. So like us, they're trying to figure out exactly what this loud boom was. Did catch up with the guy on camera who's from Wallen, came to work out here in Eagleton Village. He says it caught him by surprise.
Yeah, I was getting ready for work, and I was by myself at home, and I heard a big boom. I thought it was my dog or something. But I looked, my dog was laying on the bed, and I was by myself. I thought it was weird. I didn't expect anything about it until you said something about it.
It's still a big mystery at this point, trying to figure out what happened in Blount County. We will continue to try to get answers from the city of Alcoa, Maryville Police Department, and the Blount County Sheriff's Office. Did have a conversation with the Sheriff's Office about an hour ago. They do not have anybody out patrolling right now, so just trying to get as many answers as we can for you guys, just to provide some clarity for what happened here in East Tennessee with this boom, guys.
Just kind of reading between the lines then, Jared, it sounds like there's not a reason to be concerned over the next several hours as long as officers aren't concerned.
Yeah, it's one of those things that they've kind of pulled things back a little bit so they don't seem as concerned. Folks around here more intrigued than concerned at this point. They're just trying to figure out what it was.
Jared, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we also checked to see if it could have been an earthquake. Ruled that out as well. Didn't see any activity that would suggest that it was an earthquake either.
Our Caitlin Ashbaugh joins us live in Greenville with what we know so far. Caitlin, describe to us what this phenomenon looked like.
Nigel, Rashad, if you blinked, you might have just missed it. Imagine a bright streak of light coming down from the sky, seconds later disappearing into thin air, all of that in broad daylight. Eyewitnesses said that they described it as softball-sized, and they said that it was a striking, unusual sight for them. The National Weather Service, they tracked this through their satellite imagery, and they said that this showed a streak within a cloud-free sky that was closer to the North Carolina and Virginia border.
Take a look at this. Morrison says he cannot confirm if it was a meteor at this time, but says debris fell from above through the ceiling and hitting the floor inside. At this time, we're not hearing of any injury, so that's the good news there. The Anderson County Fire Department in South Carolina, our neighbors there, confirming to our sister station that they also had.
Like I said, the reason you having so many things falling from the sky is because the intrinsic magnetism is here. The magnetism is here on the planet because people are raising up in frequency, which is also heating up the planet Earth, which is also streaming down intelligence. Different meteorites and comets are starting to come because, like I said, the magnetism has increased. This is why you're having so many different, anomalies that's taking place.
Multiple reports there, people seeing it there, and they're investigating on the ground to see if there's any debris or possible crash. We're told that they have several departments searching. Back here at home in Metro Atlanta, of course, many of us saw it in the sky or felt it on the ground.
Many others only catching a quick glimpse of something cosmic flying overhead.
Did y'all see it?
All right, many people on the ground say they felt shaking. Officials have confirmed there was no earthquake that took place. Of course, this is a big talker online and many people just talking with each other. I did reach out to the governor's office to see if Governor Kemp had been updated. We're waiting to hear back. But of course, Courtney, Tom, big answer is, are there any other damages? And really, what is it or what was it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm outside at like 12 having a coffee and I heard the boom. Checked the Storm Team app to see if there were thunderstorms out there, and there weren't any. It was a mystery for
So, like I said, you got all these anomalies that's taking place that correlate with El Holy Injyil, as I was telling you guys about the transliteration of the book of Revelation. Now we're going to get into some the conspiracy sector of the presentation. Now, I told you that everything in the system operates by way of a numerical sequence. I've been telling you about the 9/11 code, right? The 9/11 code is actually the Golden Gate Bridge code, because that means that we're going to have a tower moment that's going to happen on Donald Trump's watch. Because Donald Trump, when you look at the numerical sequence of his terms, he was president 45, which is 9. Then he was also got another term, and just now he's president 47. So that's 11. You got 9/11. So that means that the Gemini creates the dualistic energies to create chaos and order. Because like I said, Donald Trump, he's a double agent. He's playing both sides. He's playing both sides of the pillars, which represents the 11. And the 9 is also a representation of the galactic center of what we call the star Polaris. So that means that as we get back to the galactic center, you're going to have many different rituals to create the destruction, right? Because like I said, you have 2 different timelines going on. You have an engineered reset, and then you have a reset that's being cultivated by nature. But it seems like they're trying to engineer the reset before nature does it itself. So that's why I say this is why they have rituals, right? Then he died at 54. Then he got the 9. We in the 9 year. And then you also cannot negate that he was also friends with Obama Chef. And Obama Chef is also known as one of the people that got unalive for knowing too much about the family, right? So like I said, and then I'm pretty sure Theo in the Cosby Show, he knew something about it as well. So when it comes to that, you have to be very critical, right? So you got to be very critical. And then it says, in addition, the 9/11 call came in. So, and then he was also on the show called 9/11, and then 911. And then I just told you the Donald Trump breakdown. There's no such things as coincidence, because one thing you got to understand about the simulation, everything is mathematical because everything is holographic. Everything is holographic because it works in tandem with Saturn and the moon, right? That's the reason why, because it creates the binary code system that creates a polarity consciousness. And then you got this going on. Iran accuses Israel of using occult forces during conflict, right? Because one thing you got to understand about Netanyahu and the people that come from his bloodline, I told you, they're basically the youngest of the Canaanite bloodline, because the first Canaanites were actually black, right? That's when you get into the black Colochians who lived in the Caucasus. So the black Colochians, they're esoterically and genetically, supremely, from a genetic level, they're connected to the Nephilim, right? This is why you see these black apparitions in the back. They using supernatural forces. They using the cherubim archonic forces to manipulate the system to create an engineered reset. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give a brief synopsis about everything that I broke down tonight. So with that being said, like I said, the embodiment of the darkest hour is talking about the numerical sequence and the mathematical equation of the earth, sun, and the moon. And this is all connected to us breaking out of the Kali Yuga time loop, which is a fixed position reality that keeps us stuck in the energetic frequency of time that sucks up microscopic waves of energy from our physiology. So this is why I said the black hole at our galaxy center just exploded. It's exploding because we're going back into the galactic center where the Metatronic overlay is being manipulated, because it created a 8 supernova, and 8 is equated to Saturn. And Saturn right now is in retrograde. So that means that the Metatronic overlay and the fixed position reality of the polarity consciousness is being manipulated. And this is why I was saying you square the circle. You square the circle, your circle is your cipher. You break through the subatomic particles, which is the Planck's, which is the smallest unit in the universe. You break through the simulation and you get right back to the true light. And the true light is the cosmic will, when you're talking about Ezekiel's will, when you're talking about the mothership, because the mothership in itself has different forms of multi-dimensional lights because it operates on crystal technology. So this is why you see the light at the end right here, going right back into the cosmic energy of Big Mama. So the motivation and the blueprint for this whole presentation is all based on the year of 2027 of August 2nd, when they're going to have the solar eclipse. It's going to be for 6 minutes, and 6 minutes is 360 seconds. 360 seconds, when you break down the numbers of it, it's really talking about, ancient Kemetic spirituality. Ophiuchus, 360 seconds creates the 3, 6, and a 9. And the 3, 6, and a 9 is the keys of the universe that creates the grand unified theory and the 47th problem of Euclid that's connected to the Masonic square and compass of how you break out of the Kali Yuga time cycle with the sigil of Melchizedek. So with that being said, I'm going to talk to you guys for a second. Hold on for a second. Okay. All right. All right. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we are living in a time right now where the chosen have to be very meticulous because you have new energies on the planet. You're here as a chosen one, you're here to be a legend. You're not here to be no damn mascot. You was built for the spiritual journey, and they was built for the bleachers. There's a reason for that. So as we get through the darkest hour, expect people to cling on to your energy. And as they're trying to cling on to your energy, you got to use their low vibrational ass as spiritual weights to level up for your evolution. So that's why I said only words from the heart can reach the heart, because the heart is 100,000 times more highly magnetic than the brain. That is the Sufi order of the sons of green light. The green light is activated here. There's a reason why Gemini is in conjunction with Uranus all the way up into the year of 2033 when the vortex opens up. And then when the vortex opens up in 2043, that's when you're going to have the crack of the firmament, right? But the inception of the energy starts with the solar eclipse of 2027. Excuse me. So now for those who watch my channel or whatever, a lot of you don't know that my name is Bridal Rice Bay. But, just, for future reference, what we're going to start doing is whenever you think I'm cooking up a lot of information, put the rice emoji, the rice bowls in the comment section, put it in the chat section. When you know that I'm about to cook up some information, we're going to put the rice bowls. We're going to use the rice bowls as an energy signature that's acclimated to who I am, right? Because my last name is Rice. So we're going to put the rice bowls that basically gives off that energy signature to let them know that we cooking in this Great Awakening period. Thanks for watching. End of transmission.
Be Frankie. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Man, my auntie passed last night. This just a sad life, I'm trying to get my cash right. Past bright, yeah, I'm shining like a flashlight. Trying to take off quick, might catch a fast flight. I'm mad tight, shitting on them with my ass wipes. Staying away from old friends, they all seem fake to me. Hating me, cause I'm getting dough just like the bakery. I'm tired of a mediocre life. I got hopes of Mike's fiends smoking pipes. It's the second song that I wrote tonight. Haters open spite, how we got such a focus sight. I done flirted with death. 98 was the birth of the best. Grass cut from the surface I met. Rhymes I steadily spew, my hope will never be through. When it's all said and done, they'll remember me too. Life's a trip, regardless if the lace is tied. I'm spitting dope on my listeners, I make them high. The media got your brains baked and fried. Great supply, take your eyes and replace them with the ancient lies. I'm too cold, I spit hot. New flows for hip-hop, a few shows and get guap. New clothes, no wristwatch. I don't really care about your materialistic. Spazzing in the booth from iller than venereal sickness. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness. Trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness. Trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness. Trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness. Trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix. Gotta count my blessings even though I'm daily stressing. See, my brain is a weapon, I can use it for protection. Used to take dabs off the rip like collections. Flows very often relative to beat selections. Block your number, cut you off, I hope you get the message. Hold the mic close to me like it's supposed to be. Haters act like they don't notice me, but I'm too focused, see. I devote to dreams and promote my schemes. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness. Trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness. Trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix.